The lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium blazed brighter than ever. The 23,771-seat venue, the largest tennis stadium in the world, was packed to capacity. Thousands of Filipino flags waved in the stands, a sea of red, white, blue, and yellow stretching from the front rows to the highest rafters. The chants of Laban, Alex, echoed through the stadium like thunder. But this wasn't a Grand Slam final. This wasn't even a main draw match. This was an exhibition. Stars of the Open, a showcase of the sport's most exciting young talents, held during U.S. Open Fan Week on August 27th. On paper, it was supposed to be a friendly exhibition, a chance for fans to see the future of tennis before the main draw began. But when Alexandra Eala walked onto the court, the atmosphere turned electric. Her opponent was Iva Jovic, the world number 14, the 18-year-old American sensation who had beaten Eala twice in 2026. At the French Open, Jovic had won 6-4, 6-2. At the HSBC Championships at Queen's Club, she had dominated 6-2, 6-2. The head-to-head record was 2-0 in Jovic's favor. The tennis world expected more of the same. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Iva Jovic couldn't handle her. The friendly exhibition became a statement, a declaration, a moment that would echo through the tennis world long after the final point was played. The USTA better make sure they put her on big courts, former U.S. Davis Cup captain Patrick McEnroe had warned. In New York, I think the crowd is going to be wild for her. And they were. Welcome to the story of a friendship tested on court, an exhibition that became a spectacle, and a young woman who proved that champions don't just win matches. They command entire stadiums. To understand why this exhibition match mattered so much, you have to understand the relationship between Alexandra Eala and Iva Jovic. It is a story of friendship, rivalry, and two young stars on parallel paths to greatness. Eala, 21, is the world number 18 and the highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA history. She holds one WTA title, which she won at the DC Open earlier this month. A stunning victory over a stacked field that included Alina Svitolina, Naomi Osaka, and world number 3 Jessica Pegula. She has been the WTA's big ticket over the last 2 years, packing venues in every city she's played and drawing an entirely different demographic from the sports-crazed Philippines to the tennis world. Jovic, 18, is the world number 14 and holds one WTA title, which she won at the Guadalajara Open last year. This is her third U.S. Open appearance, having reached the second round in each of the past 2 editions. She is one of the brightest young stars in American tennis. The two are good friends off the court. They have teamed up in doubles, reaching the semifinals of the ASB Classic and playing in the round of 32 at Indian Wells. She's a great friend of mine, and I'm very grateful for her, Jovic had said after their match at the HSBC Championships. But on the court, friendship is set aside. It's more fun playing doubles with her than being on the other side of the net. Unfortunately, we have to play in the early rounds, but hopefully we play some finals soon enough, Jovic had said. The two had faced each other twice in 2026, at the French Open and at the HSBC Championships. Jovic had won both matches convincingly. At Roland Garros, she won 6-4, 6-2. At Queen's Club, she dominated 6-2, 6-2. But something had changed since their last meeting. Eala had just climbed to a career-high world number 18 ranking. She had won her first WTA Tour title in Washington. She had reached the 4th round at Wimbledon, stunning defending champion Iga Swiatek on center court. She had sold out every match at the Canadian Open. She was no longer the player who had lost to Jovic twice in straight sets. She was a player on a mission. I know also that I wouldn't be having these experiences if I didn't do all the work that I did beforehand, Eala had said before the tournament. I know that I won't continue to experience it if I don't continue that work. August 27th, 2026. Arthur Ashe Stadium. The stars of the Open exhibition. The event featured some of the most exciting young talents in tennis, including Amanda Anisimova, Marta Kostyuk, Flavio Kobali, Lerner Tin, Arthur Fils, and Alex Michelsen. But the match everyone was waiting for was Eala versus Jovic. The crowd was electric. Thousands of Filipino fans had filled the stadium, their flags waving proudly. their chants of Laban, Alex, echoing through the arena. It was reminiscent of what had happened at the Australian Open, when organizers had placed Eala on court 6, one of the tournament's smaller courts, and security had to turn away thousands of fans who couldn't get in. She probably needed to be on a bigger show court, Lindsay Davenport had said at the Australian Open. She's, I think, probably the most famous female from the Philippines, certainly one of the most famous people ever to come through their sporting world, and there were so many fans here who were just waiting to get in there. The US Open had learned its lesson. Eala was on the biggest court in tennis, and she delivered. The match was a statement, a declaration that the 2 previous losses to Jovic were ancient history, a reminder that Eala was a completely different player now. Her following, the fans that just come to watch her not just play her match, but to watch her practice, is off the charts. Mary Jo Fernandez, the former world #4 had said, "It's just gotten bigger and bigger everywhere she goes. It's almost like she's playing a Billie Jean King Cup match when she's out there," Fernandez added. "Every point is loud. Every point she wins, it feels like she's won more than a point." The exhibition was a preview of what was to come in the main draw. Eala was seeded for the 2nd straight time at a Grand Slam. The main draw would begin on August 30th, and Eala was poised to be one of its biggest attractions. With the U.S. Open's record prize pool of $108 million and champions taking home $5.5 million, the stakes could not have been higher. But before the main draw, Eala had made her point. She had shown the world, and her friend, that she was ready for the biggest stage. Her game is really good. She backs it up, Fernandez had said. She's improved tremendously. She's getting better and better. And at the Stars of the Open, Eala proved exactly that. The ticket frenzy surrounding the U.S. Open had already made headlines. More than 300,000 New Yorkers had swarmed a website for just 1,000 cut price tickets, creating a waiting list of 336,573 people in just 3 minutes. The average ticket price had soared to $617. A grounds pass was being resold for $363 on the secondary market, nearly 6 times the original price. And Patrick McEnroe's warning had been heard loud and clear. "The USTA better make sure they put her on big courts," McEnroe had said. "I think the crowd is going to be wild for her. It's going to be a great story. Better make sure they don't put her on one of those side courts early in the tournament." The warning came from history. At the Australian Open, organizers had placed Eala on court 6, not anticipating the massive crowd that would turn up. Lines of fans stretched around Melbourne Park, and security had to turn away thousands more hoping to get inside. Martina Navratilova had been even more direct. "The organizers need to keep more in mind where the players are from and what the actual fan base is here, because there's massive Filipino audience in Melbourne, in Australia. So keep that in mind next time you make the schedule." The U.S. Open had listened. Eala was on the biggest court in tennis, and the crowd was wild. "I think she loves the big stage," Greg Rosetsky had said. "There's certain players who love walking on Arthur Ashe Stadium, who like to play on the big stadiums, who want to be on the big stadiums. That's what I feel with Eala, that she wants to be there, and she will get her success because of all the work she does." The Stars of the Open was just a preview. The main draw was still to come. But the message was clear. Alex Eala had arrived, and she was here to stay. The legacy that will echo through history. Eala's performance at the Stars of the Open was more than just a win. It was a recognition of her status as a global icon, a symbol of hope and inspiration for millions of people around the world. The numbers told the story. She had packed stadiums wherever she went. She had drawn massive crowds, sold out tournaments, and brought new fans to the sport. She had become the WTA's big ticket. Eala-mania had begun at the Australian Open, when long lines of fans wrapped around walkways outside her matches. It had continued in Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Wimbledon. It had reached new heights at the Canadian Open, where every match she played sold out. It had culminated in Cincinnati, where ticket prices had surged by $160 per ticket overnight. And now, in New York, it had reached a fever pitch. Price increases for the U.S. Open this year reflect big names like Serena Williams, Carlos Alcaraz, and Alex Eala, setting records in anticipation of getting to see these huge stars perform. Michael Stock, Game Time's director of pricing and business strategy, told Yahoo Sports. Eala's merchandise had sold out within minutes, while new merchandise for Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Aryna Sabalenka remained available. The achievement was unprecedented. At 21 years old, Eala was already outselling players who had been global icons for years. Alex Eala's popularity soars further as her outfit for the U.S. Open sells out ahead of any other player, one report noted. The Filipina superstar has been the WTA's big ticket the last 2 years. From the cracked courts of Quezon City, where tennis was a luxury, to the center courts of New York, where she had become the biggest draw in women's tennis, Alexandra Eala had proven that champions don't just win matches, they move mountains. And at the stars of the Open, she had proven something else. Iva Jovic couldn't handle her. From the cracked courts of Quezon City to the center courts of New York, where she had become the biggest draw in women's tennis, Alexandra Eala had proven that champions don't just win matches, they move mountains. And when she faced her friend Iva Jovic at the stars of the Open, she showed the world that she was no longer the player who had lost twice before. She was a champion. The tennis world was stunned, and Alex Eala was just getting started.